Alright guys, welcome back. Today's video is all focused on root smudging, toning, formulating, detangling tease, and all that good stuff. I know I kind of touch on it in some of my videos, but a lot of times the videos are more so focusing on the highlighting technique, and I'll share my formulas, and that's about it. So I wouldn't have a video completely dedicated to that. So we did a half-head tease light. If you want more like details on how exactly I did this, I can do this in another video, but like I said, we wanted today's video to be all on the bulwark pretty much. So that's what we'll be doing today. Let's do a background of my client and her hair and what we're going for. So she's naturally a level 6 and we're going for a sandy blonde balayage. Keep that in mind. Tip number 1 I have is if you are comfortable with your lightener and your color line, those last 5-10 minutes that those highlights are processing before you take them back to the bowl, you can mix up their root and their toner. So here's the thing, I have been using my lightener for over 3 years and my color line for well over 2 years, and I've been doing my client's hair for also well over 2 years too. So I'm very comfortable with all of the components that I'm working with and what I'm using. And I know what her hair will look like when I rinse out her lightener. If I'm doing a new client or if their hair is just processing weird, I wait, but in this situation I didn't have to. So that kind of saves some time, and then they're not sitting at the bowl as long too. So for her root toner, I am mixing up 6N, 20 grams of that, and then 10 grams of 6NB. And the reason why is because her, along with most of my level 5 and 6s, have a little bit of natural warmth in their hair. And the N is truly a straight across neutral. It's got 33% of red, yellow, and blue in it. So when you mix a true neutral with a more of a warmer neutral base, it can kind of ash it out a little bit too much, and we don't really want that. However, on the flip side of that though too, I have learned in my experience that with mixing in too much NB with a lot of neutral too, with the neutral being very neutral, so the good amount of blue mixed in with a red base neutral, a lot of that blue with a lot of that red will kind of make the root also appear kind of violet-y. And again, we really don't want that either. So I have learned what works best for me is mixing in a little bit more neutral with a little bit less of the NB. Sometimes what I'll also do too is I'll mix in equal parts of an NB, an N, and a little bit of an A as well, so an ash, just to again kind of control it. It just depends. With her being more of a neutral or just a little bit more of a warmer neutral, I didn't have to really do that. I didn't have to mix in any ash, but that's also an option you can do. If we want to go over all of that later, again, I can go in that more detailed in another video, but yeah, so that's how I came up with her root. And then her end toner, with it being again a sandy blonde and with her being at a level 9 yellow, I am mixing 1 ounce of 9N, 1 ounce of 9GV, and 1/2 ounce of 9GI. So the small amounts of violet and blue in the GV and the GI will help to counteract those overpowering yellow tones a little bit, but since we're doing a sandy blonde, we don't want it completely neutralized, so that's why I'm mixing in a good amount of N and GV in it as well. Keep in mind when you're doing your formulating though too, in my opinion, I feel like the GVs and the Ns are pretty opaque, so sometimes they can appear kind of dark looking, if you will. But with what we wanted with that sandy blonde, the GVs and the Ns were perfect. So worked in my case, but I don't always use them in all of my formulations. So again, keep that in mind. Another thing that I like to do is I will go ahead and get my brush set up. I'll get my bottle and my bowl set up, and then the shampoos and conditioners that I will be using and the towels set up as well. This part I knew it was going to leave a little bit of it out because I more so was just focusing, making sure that it was going to be focused with her at the bowl. But as you guys saw, I don't know if you could see, but I draped a towel over her neck underneath her hair so that while I pull out the foils, the lightener won't bleed through the cape onto her shirt. I've had that happen a few times, so that's a good tip, especially if they have longer hair, especially too. And then here we are about to rinse her. And then the first shampoo you guys will see me using is I'm actually gonna be using a clarifying shampoo at first. I don't use a clarifying shampoo on I think I'd say it's like pretty 50-50. It is nice to use a clarifying shampoo first on people to kind of give a clean base, clean canvas, removes any buildup. And then I use it on her too, just because I could tell that she had just a little bit of a drier, flakier scalp. So it just kind of really I just do it to kind of help them out and just to kind of remove some product buildup. And again, it also helps me out as well then too, but I don't use it on everybody. It just kind of depends. So that's what I'm using here. I'm using the Weekender by Unite. And as you guys see, I still have the tease in. I haven't really gone through yet and, started detangling it. But what I'll do while I'm shampooing is I will naturally just kind of start to break it up a little bit. Clarifying shampoos and purple shampoos are good for this as well. And that's what you're going to see me using right here is I'm using Fanola, no yellow, purple shampoo. And I will, again, as you guys can kind of see, I'm starting to just slowly pick it apart. Don't be too aggressive with it because it is shampoo. There's no need to rough up the cuticle unnecessarily. But I like to kind of work the shampoo in for at least like 30 to 60 seconds. And when I'm doing Teasylights, this is a great thing to do is as you just kind of slowly start to break apart the tease while it's sitting in. You kind of are killing two birds with one stone essentially. And then after I get that all rinsed out, I am going to be putting on a treatment. All of my lightning services come with a deep conditioning treatment of some sort. 9 times out of 10, it's an Olaplex treatment of either Olaplex number 2 or their 4-in-1 moisture mask is what I've been using a lot of lately, and that's what I'm going to be using on my client today. And I do that for a few different reasons. One, it's a great rebonding treatment after lightening the hair. 2, it's also a porosity equalizer in the sense that it kind of just like fills in those little cracks and it helps toning go more evenly, and especially it helps detangle tease at the bowl. So if you don't want to use a treatment, you can definitely just use like a regular conditioner. I like using a treatment. I feel like it just adds a little bit of value to my service. And the 4-in-1 treatment too is very buttery too, and I feel like it helps get that tease out even more. But then on the reverse side, I feel like Olaplex number 2 is slightly like runnier, like more of like a lightweight lotion or like a moisturizer kind of consistency, and I feel like that also helps get tease out as well too. So just use whatever you think is best. I start that towards the mids and ends, and then I just kind of start to slowly work my way up into the tease too. You definitely want to make sure you get it in the tease a little bit, just because again, that kind of helps to soften that hair a little bit and act as a detangler. And what I do then to detangle the tease is first I'm going to start working this product in through the tease again a little bit. That kind of helps to like slowly but surely break it up. And then you definitely need to use a wet brush. I love the ventilated wet brushes, the ones that kind of have like the lines through it. You'll see me grabbing it here in a second. I feel like it's very lightweight. I don't feel like it puts a lot of tension on my clients. I don't feel like it ever really makes them super uncomfortable, even if they are a little bit more on the tender-headed side. And yeah, but then I also feel like it's really effective too. So what you see is I'm just kind of breaking up, and I work in sections. And what you see is I'm holding my brush vertically. I find that holding the brush vertically really, really helps to get those tangles out super smoothly. And I just work my way from bottom to top very slowly but surely. And I just take I don't go super slow by any means, but I don't rush it either. And I just kind of know as I work my way up. Here you guys see I'm in a zoomed in spot, but I don't move up until I get the tangles out in that spot I'm working on. So you see me kind of working in that same spot. I haven't really made it up to the root yet because I want to make sure that all the tangles below that are already out. Working from bottom to top and with your brush vertically are like my 2 most tried and true ways of getting tease out. And it takes a couple minutes then too. I love Teasylights, but at first when I was first doing them, I had a hard time getting the tease out at the bowl. But now I do Teasylights at least once a day at this point on a client at the salon, at the bare minimum. And this is such a quick and easy way to get this out. It's just working in small sections. I kind of try to work in the section that I took, if that makes sense. So the section that I took to apply the lightener, I try to just kind of go back in that section. Sometimes, as you guys kind of see here, I was able to kind of do 2 or 3 in one, but I kind of like to also work in the way that I took it. So again, I worked off of her natural part for this technique. So I split it in 2. Sometimes when I'm doing a mohawk, I'll do like my mohawk area and then I'll do the sides too. I feel like, again, doing it, detangling in the way that you tangled it, again, helps to like really, really get that out. And then now we are ready to root melt. I forgot to add earlier too, before I put the Olaplex on, I towel dried her hair very, very thoroughly too. And then I'm leaving this Olaplex on again as well, just to let the treatment keep sitting on. And I feel like it helps to keep the toner and the root processing all evenly as well. Moving on to the root, I'm using the Formar Big Daddy brush. This is my favorite brush to root melt with. And as you saw, I was starting to outline my sections a little bit, and then I work in diagonal backs along with the curvature of the head to root. I love me a good teardrop root where it's a little bit lower in the back and a little bit higher up front. And then since I just did a half head, there's no need for me to root melt all the way down. Her highlights, she doesn't really have any highlights in the back besides the top crown area, so there really wasn't a need for me to. So that's the same thing for you. If you just did a partial or a half head, don't feel like you need to root melt the entire head, unless if it does need it. That's a whole different, again, a very situational basis. So now you see me already working my way up to the front. Again, taking diagonal back sections that go along with her growth pattern and the curvature of her head. And I'm taking about like inch section, or I'm dragging the color down around like an inch or so up here up front. And as you guys see, as I kind of work through that like temple area, I kind of just I flip the hair back and then I apply the product, just so that I don't drag it down too low and then I get it either like on her ears. I hate when that happens. I feel bad for my clients getting color all over their ears. And I just feel like I'm able to also get the most accurate application in that way. The top of the head, I start and I color it on top and then on bottom, but again, when I flip it up, I just take finer sections. The hair is normally a little bit finer around there anyway too, but yeah, I just flipping it over and then just applying it there kind of helps. And I apologize, I know this is such an awkward angle. I was having kind of a hard time figuring out like the perfect angle to do this on where you guys could accurately see. So again, I apologize that my shoulders are kind of in the way of this. But as you guys see, I'm kind of still going along with the curvature of her head, and now I'm kind of taking more horizontal sections because of her head shape. And then you also can see too, I am leaving her money piece out. I don't do this on everybody, but when we want to have it be a little bit brighter in the front, and when they're like a level 5, 6 or higher, I normally do. If they're like a level 3, because it takes some time for that to kind of deepen up and process, I normally do find myself rooting it right then and there just to kind of give it some time to deepen up. And then if you do the money piece and if it's if it already processed and you don't want it to process too dark, when they're level 3, they're already like off black by then anyway, so it normally doesn't matter for those, in my opinion. But if you do it on a level like 5, 6 or higher, and it is starting to process a little dark, what you can always do is lay a towel over the rest of the hair and then just like quickly rinse out those fronts. I've had to do that before too. Now on to toning. As you see, I laid her back and then I brushed everything back in the bowl. And then what you see is I'm just going through section by section. I don't really like to just like tone everything all at once. I find that I don't get that accurate of a tone that way. So I just go through and I take a couple inch sections and I just am running my toner through that zone 2 area. If you're not familiar with like zoning, zone 1's like the base, the root, zone 2 is like the mids, and zone 3 is essentially the ends. But I'm more so focusing just on zone 2, and I'm not really focusing this on her ends yet. Again, situational basis, but since I've learned that since the hair, you know how the ends and the money piece are always a little bit more porous, so to get that true like melted effect without having to mix up multiple toners, sometimes this is what I'll do is I will just focus this on zone 2, and then as you see, I am brushing this through and getting the rest of the product through her ends to kind of slowly start that processing. Now on to the money piece. So I bring that all back and then I start off with the root and I'm just barely tapping it really. Enough to get some color there, get some root there, but I'm not taking it down too low. If your client wants that though, you know, again, do whatever your client wants. Sometimes I'm bringing it down a couple inches. And like I said, sometimes I do the money piece root with the rest of the hair. So this is just what I'm doing for today's client. And I do feel like this is the way that I am doing it most of the time anyway as well. And then I know I skipped through this, but when I toned the underneath, what I also did was I get a little bit of product on my hands and I apply it underneath. I don't like squeeze the color there just because I feel like that makes it really messy. You can refer back a couple minutes ago to see that, but I kind of skipped through that, so that's my bad. But now I'm doing the money piece and I'm getting that color all the way through again. And then what I do while this processes is then I kind of run the color all the way through and I go all the way from mid root to ends then too. And this kind of helps make sure that I got the color all over everywhere in case I miss spots. It kind of helps to saturate the ends a little bit more if they need a little bit extra toning power since the color was just essentially brushed through them. And you just watch at this point. Oligo toners take anywhere between 3 to 10 minutes to process, on average 5 to 7. So normally by this time it's almost ready. But the great thing about oligo color is I don't feel like it overtones either, unless if you're using like their additives or something of the sort. So whenever you're ready, then go ahead and just rinse her all out, and then we'll get her shampooed and conditioned, and then we'll just go ahead and get her blow dried. And here it is all straight. It is so pretty. This is the most blonde that we've done on her, and I was obsessed. I hope you guys enjoy. I'm just going to show a few clips of it straight and curly. So if you guys enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video. If you have any questions about anything in this video or regards to this video, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you guys in the next video. And stay tuned if you want to see it curled. Bye.